Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. It's me, Stacey Heine, your holistic nutritionist, plant-based coach, and waterless beauty mentor. And I am so excited to tell you about today's guest. It is Jen Delvaux, and she's going to be talking all about cancer and all about her journey. And it's such a good story. And I know that you're going to find inspiration and also help if you are currently going through a cancer treatment or know somebody. You should definitely share this episode with them so that they can have hope and find help. But before we get into that, I want to make sure that you know that there is actually an opportunity to start working with me to make money and also make an impact. And that is with Olive Tree People or Oliveda. Now, this is the waterless beauty brand that I found from Europe that is now 20 years old, but just came over to the United States just a year ago, and it is growing and flourishing and taking off like a rocket ship. And I would love to do this with you. Let me tell you a little bit more about Oliveda if you don't know about it yet. It is, again, a waterless beauty brand, but it is actually a holistic approach to wellness and beauty, addressing gut health and internal health alongside oral health and your topical skincare and hair care health. And all of these combined actually create a nice holistic and synergistic approach to wellness and beauty. But there's also, I forgot to mention, olive tree therapy in terms of meditations and sound baths and olive tree frequency. So there's a very dynamic brand going on here with Olive Tree People and Oliveda, and it's only going to grow and get better and better and better. And you can make a difference in other people's lives and help them increase their confidence and their beauty and their wellness through Oliveda. I want you to know that you can earn 25 to 35% commission for anything that you sell if you decide to become a consultant. In addition to that, you will have quarterly bonuses and weekly bonuses. And as long as you are showing up, you will be making money. And at the same time, you're going to be making an impact too. Now, you can also grow a team. People can join underneath you, and you will earn 10% on the first line of people. And then lines 2 through 9, you will earn an additional 5%. So I want you to know about this opportunity. It's been really life-changing for me, and I feel very in alignment with what I'm doing. And it's just a no-brainer, in my opinion. If you are into wellness and you would like a stream of income, join me. See what this can do for you. If you have any questions, just email me down below at the show notes. Otherwise, just click the join button. It's only $50 per year to have your own website to share with people, to be able to access our back end resources and tools and have all of the trainings that you need from our team and content and more. So it's just a really fun thing. I would love to invite you to work alongside me. We can tread the waters together and grow and flourish. And it would be so fun to help you feel empowered in your finances and help people in a holistic way at the same time. So I hope that you join me. Now it's off to the show with Jen. I hope that you enjoy this episode. I know you will. She's such a delight. And if you love it, make sure you share it. All right, be well. So we have Jen Delvaux on the podcast today. Jen is an integrative health practitioner and proud mother of 2 amazing children. And she's also the host of the wildly successful podcast show, Not Today Cancer, and author of Not Today Cancer, a non-typical guide for the girl who wants to thrive, not just survive. So Jen, welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. I'm thrilled to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
I have been following you on Instagram and I've seen you like pop up year after year, like in my feed. And I'm like, wow, she seems so inspiring. And like, it seems like you have such an amazing story to share, a story of inspiration that I think many need to hear. So I wanted to have you on and for you to be able to share your message today. So again, thank you
Awesome.
so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I love sharing my story, helping other women who are navigating something. It's like the things that I teach is it's related to cancer, but it can help in so many areas of women's lives and just how to overcome struggle. I mean, I get people tell me all the time, they're like, I couldn't do it if I were in your shoes. I'm like, Yes, you could because you have no choice and you
Right.
figure it out."
Yeah. Oh, I'm so curious. And I really love how you say in your guide, for women to be able to thrive and not just survive. That's like one of the things that I type all the time, like in my newsletters and stuff. I'm like, listen, it's your time to thrive and not literally just survive. I think so many women are walking around these days, they put their feet on the ground first thing in the morning and it's just go time for them. It is fight or flight. It is draining the adrenals. It is like burnout to the max. They're just trying to survive, like literally. And as you know, that can lead to not only just chronic fatigue, but also illness and,
Totally.
dis-ease within the body. So,
Yeah.
my first question, Jen, is when did you become an integrative health practitioner? Why did you do that?
Yeah, let me go back to really quick so when I was diagnosed,
Yep.
a lot of people say I'm a cancer survivor and nothing against that. Like everybody has their own journey on this, but for me, survivor just means like getting by and I'm like I don't want to just survive. Yes, I want to survive, but I also want to thrive. So in that, I think when I had my diagnosis, and I can dive into that in a minute, but I knew immediately that I wanted to be the driver in this cancer diagnosis. I listened to the doctors. I did what they told me, but then I also wanted to take my diagnosis in my hands and
Mhm.
see what I could do to help. And so that's why I became an integrative health practitioner because I wanted to learn all the things. I
Right.
knew looking at my life prior to my diagnosis, there was definitely things that I needed to change, even though I was in the health and fitness world. I was in the health and fitness world to fit into the skinny jeans and
Mm,
not for longevity. So I've learned so much since my diagnosis and changed basically everything. And I'm, healthier than I've ever been. And with my breast cancer diagnosis was hormone positive, so they force you into menopause. So you're in menopause, you hear all these nightmare stories that you can gain weight and you can't gain muscle, and that's just not true
mhm.
when you're doing the work. So,
Wow. Yeah, I
mhm,
was just curious. I know that's kind of a random question to ask right off the bat, but I wanted to know if you were a practitioner prior to your diagnosis,
mm-mm.
or if it was something that, your diagnosis lit this fire underneath you. You're going to be your own best doctor type of situation, and you're going to,
Ye
you know,
Yeah, and the
take,
funny thing is I don't practice it like a lot of people do. Like, I don't take on clients as in a practice,
right,
but I wanted to have that certification, so when I was speaking to other women that have gone through a cancer diagnosis, I was, telling them good information.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I don't think, I'll ever stop learning. I'll just continue to
No, I
get
agree.
all the knowledge and certifications because it's fun and
Yeah.
science does evolve. So,
Yes.
it's nice to know like what's the most cutting edge and what we can, you know, be doing to
Yeah.
help other people and to be helping ourselves. So
Yeah.
awesome. So tell me, the work that you do really is related back to your diagnosis back in 2021. I would love it if you could take us back because that's
Yeah.
actually not that long ago. Uh,
Yeah. But
yeah,
the
take us back.
interesting part is that my diagnosis really, the whole journey begins in 2009. The cancer journey begins in 2009.
Oh,
So my husband was diagnosed with brain cancer.
oh,
So that's where it all really started with cancer is he was 35 years old when he was diagnosed with brain cancer and it was just like our lives just stopped. Our worlds stopped. We had two young kids. We didn't know what we were going to do. Like our lives, we didn't know anything. Cancer just hadn't been in our life. And then so we went through his whole diagnosis and surgery and it came back. The interesting part is I asked his doctor, I said, is there anything he should be doing as far as nutrition goes or making any changes? And they were like, no, no. And in my head, I was like, okay. I
what
didn't
kind of
believe it.
what kind of brain cancer was it, Jen?
Well, it's an astrocytoma.
Okay.
So it started out as a grade 2,
Mhm.
but it came back 18 months later as a grade 3. And in that time, I had already started doing my research. And so when it came back that second time, I dove deep into research. We changed a lot of things.
Mhm.
And then it came back a third time. So he right now has grade 4, and he's honestly was given 18 months to live, and it's been what, 14 years?
Mhm.
15 years, 15 years. He's just a miracle. So he's taught me a lot, and he does deal with deficits and short-term memory issues. Like he hasn't been able to go back to work since 2011,
Mhm.
but he's just so inspiring, and he has such an incredible attitude. So that kind of prepared me for my own diagnosis in 2021.
Wow.
I know. I went to my routine mammogram, and they called me back and they were like, "Hey, we need to do a repeat mammogram and ultrasound on you." And I was like, "Okay, well, there's no way it can be anything." Like that's what my mindset was. And she said, "Do you want to know which breast?" And I was like, "Sure." And in my head, this is so wild. In my head, I was saying, "It's my left. She's going to say my left. I know she's going to say my left," even though I hadn't felt anything. It wasn't
Mhm.
like I had a lump or any concern whatsoever. And she said, "It's your left." So I went in, and actually when we're recording this, this was the day that I went in for that repeat mammogram, completely in just like a cloud, thinking this is no big deal, taking a little selfie on my stories saying, "How many of you
Right.
had to go back for a repeat mammogram? No big deal." And I went back, and they first do the mammogram, and they see if they see it still, and they did. And they said, "Okay, now we're going to go back for the ultrasound." So we go back into the ultrasound. I'm still not worried because I'm like, it's got to be just like nothing. And in there is when I started freaking out a little bit because she was staying in one area for a really long time. And then she said to me, "I'm going to go get the doctor." And I was like, "Oh, if you're seeing the doctor, it's not good."
Right.
So she went and got him, and I was totally freaking out, and I'm by myself because we're in COVID
Yeah.
times when this,
Yeah. Mhm.
and plus I didn't think it was anything. Like I didn't think that this was just a silly little repeat mammogram. And then the doctor came in, and he's like, with just the saddest face, like the saddest face. And he's like, "You don't feel anything on that side?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "We are suspecting that this is cancer." And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Do you have any questions?" I'm like, "No." I was like, "Get me out of here. I'm in a dream. There's
Yeah.
no way this is real." I mean, a nightmare. I'm like, "There's no way this is real." I just wanted to get home to my husband, and Drew, my son Drew was here, and I just wanted to go on with my life. And I reached out to my neighbor. The interesting part is she was dealing with a breast cancer diagnosis too, or had just gotten done with it. So I called her on my way home, and she was like, "Well, the good news is they didn't call you back for an immediate biopsy." And the second I got home, I got a phone call, and
Mm.
they said, "We need you back in the morning. This is definitely cancer, what we're seeing, what we think." I mean, they're 99% sure it's
Right.
cancer.
Oh
So my
my
world just
gosh.
stopped for a little bit. I was crushed. I just thought, how could this happen to husband and wife, both having cancer?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you went back,
Yeah.
got the
Went for the
biopsy.
biopsy, and the next morning that was easy procedure. And then on 2/22, which is this Thursday, is when I got that phone call, and they were like, "It's invasive ductal carcinoma." So I knew I had breast cancer. It was ER positive, HER2 negative. So that's, when you have that diagnosis, for anybody listening, HER2 negative is a little bit better than HER2 positive. But there's so many different types of breast cancer. It's confusing. Like with Darren, it's brain cancer. He has an astrocytoma. It's grade 1. They always do grades, not stages. Breast, they do stage and grade. It's just so weird. There's so much to breast cancer. And there's so much that you can do nowadays. There's
Right.
so much more research, thank God.
Yeah. So what happened in your mind at that time?
Yeah.
Um, did you know, since like just with the experience that you had gone through with your husband and like now you're in the seat, you're in the hot seat, you're living it now. Like, did you know, oh my gosh, I really need to stay up on this mind thing so it doesn't become this like spiral or did you spiral?
I spiraled. I
Hmm.
spiraled. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I spiraled. But my spirals like last a short time, and then I'm like, "Okay, let's go." And
Yeah.
then I would spiral again. And then I'd be like, okay, let's go. Because it's weird. Whenever you have a diagnosis, you think things are going to go a certain way. And
Mm,
there's always like that night, that day when I found that out, when I found out that it was in fact cancer, I kind of knew leading up to it, I was going to get that diagnosis. So I'd already done a little spiraling.
mhm,
So once I got to that point, I was like, okay, what do I need to do? Like I knew I could basically perform brain surgery. I knew so much about it, but I knew nothing about breast. I knew like for Darren, we traveled to MD Anderson for all of his treatment for his surgeries, and here it's they have we have a great hospital here, so I actually stayed here. But it was hard, and I knew that I had to do work because it's it is different when I thought always when with Darren having cancer, I thought when he was diagnosed, it was kind of me too. It's
mhm.
not. It's not even close. Like when
Right,
you get
right,
that own diagnosis, and me, I'm the one that's the one that supports our family. I was the
right.
provider. I'm the one that keeps our family together. I do everything. And I'm like, I can't be sick. And
Mhm,
I didn't want to be known as a sick person because for a while there, chemo was on the table. I didn't end up doing chemo, but
mm,
I did just because I'm dealing with it. It was a higher grade, so there was concern, but we did some other things. But yeah, it was just I spiraled, but then I would pick myself back up. I knew that I craved a routine. I crave a morning routine. I have to have movement. I started incorporating meditation, so that was one piece that was brand new to me.
mm,
The actually when I was supposed to drive myself to the biopsy, I was so consumed with fear that day. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to drive myself there.
mhm,
And so I grabbed my phone and I searched apps and I just found an app, Unplug. I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's a bunch of apps out there for meditations. And I just got it and downloaded it and I looked up stress and there was this one meditation. It was called Your Superpower Calm. I
mm,
played it.
mm.
It was everything. It
Wow.
literally was everything. And it taught me so much that like that one meditation, there was part of it where you breathe in, I am, and you breathe out calm.
Mm,
That one meditation stuck with me through a lot of like treatments. And ever since then, I meditate. Like I can't imagine a day without meditating.
yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah,
And I'm sure that that's one of the tactics that you share with your clients.
yes,
They're going
that
through.
and breath work.
Yeah.
I teach. And some people don't like this, but I teach people to look at like what were you doing prior to your diagnosis? And
Mhm.
this is not to blame, this isn't
Right.
to go back and go, "Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done this. I should have done this." But it actually empowers you to look at like what can I change? And
Mhm,
do I have too much stress in my life? Like I had too much stress and I wasn't doing anything to bring myself back down into that parasympathetic state. I was like you were talking about earlier, go, 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 go. My feet would hit the floor. I didn't have time. Who has time for walking when you can run? Meditate?
right.
No, my mind can't slow down. Like that was me
Mm,
always. And so this diagnosis taught me to slow down
mhm.
and you need to bring some activities into your life that are more calming. And so that was a huge piece. I also changed my diet radically. I changed everything, really.
I wanted to know about that. So you said well, first off, I want to know what was it like to tell the doctors that you were not going to do chemo?
Well, they were on board with me.
Okay.
So I didn't say no. I had three opinions. And that's another thing I really recommend for any diagnosis. Get second and third opinions. And the other beautiful thing that I think we don't realize is we react out of fear and
Mhm.
we just are like, you tell me what to do and I will do it." And that was me in the beginning. And now I know we have time. Most of us have some time to really think through and process and then make informed decisions.
Mhm.
So with that, we did a couple different testing. She knows how healthy I am. And I was in that gray area where chemo was on the table. So I could kind of go either way.
Got it.
And she felt comfortable with putting me into menopause, the Zoladex injections to shut down my ovaries, and doing an aromatase inhibitor. But I'm not on that anymore because I got an osteoporosis diagnosis.
Mhm.
So you evolve and you learn. And my doctors aren't happy that I'm not doing I'm supposed to be on bone infusion
Mhm.
drugs. And I'm like, listen, I need a year.
Yeah.
I need a year. Like, I need to see if I can't heal this myself in different ways. So
Mhm.
I have learned and evolved and done some things differently, but this is not to suggest anybody not to listen to the doctor. I'm
Right.
not a doctor and I'm never suggesting anybody do, you know, I'm not giving medical advice, but I just feel like you have to do what's in your heart, what you believe in.
Mhm.
And, yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully
So
that makes sense.
yeah, it does. Absolutely. Hello. Before we get too far into this episode, I want to let you know that raw food eating has been pretty game changing for me. Over my last 15 years of being plant-based, this raw food eating journey that I've been on recently has been one of the most transformative raw food series or seasons in my life. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like I've figured it out. And I'm actually feeling really great eating a lot of raw foods. And I, again, have experimented with this for 15 years. But there's actually something new coming out in terms of a really great resource and tool. And I want to be sure that you save the date for May 1st, 2024. There's going to be a raw bundle, and you're going to want to grab it from me because it's going to just be game changing in terms of information, recipes, inspiration, classes, and so much more to help you eat more raw plant foods so that you can feel better. You can have vibrant skin, awesome gut health, the energy that you desire, and so much more. So make sure that you follow along on Instagram and that you stay tuned to YouTube and you're subscribed to my newsletter list. I'll leave the newsletter list link down below. You can grab it at the comfort food link. I will put that down below so you can get on my newsletter list and also get a handful of comfort food recipes that are whole food, plant-based, and oil-free. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled for March 1st because this raw food bundle is going to be awesome and you will learn how to thrive eating raw as well. All right, back to Jen. I hope that you are loving this episode. So, I was just asking that because I know a lot of women sometimes that have gone through cancer treatment. In hindsight, they're like, "Whoa, that was really fast. Everything was rushed. I just, made these decisions very quickly. Now I know differently." Or yeah,
No,
that
I agree.
happens a lot.
That's so true. And there's no judgment on anybody's journey. I
Oh, yeah,
connected with women that completely do this holistically and they're doing amazing. One
yeah,
of my all-time favorite books is Radical Remission, and they don't do all holistic healing. They
right,
do a combination a lot, or it's people who are, stage 4, they're in a really tough place, maybe chemo didn't
right,
work for them, and they've done these 9 or 10 radical things, which are basically things that I've done, and they're doing an amazing years
yeah.
and years and years later.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that everybody's situation is so different, and
Yeah.
there's so many treatments out there and modalities that you can use. So what were some of the lifestyle factors that you did immediately change, Jen, when you were diagnosed with?
Yeah. Well, first I brought in that calm, and then I also changed my diet. I went vegan, plant-based. I knew immediately. I didn't even eat for a little bit, like for like a day. I
Yeah,
didn't want to put anything into my body. You know how like animals intuitively, like they instinct, their
ah,
instincts tell them not to eat when they're sick.
yeah,
And I just didn't want to, I was scared to put anything into my body. And then I just slowly started adding in vegetables and fruit. Prior to my diagnosis, I would stay away from fruit because of sugar, which is just
right,
crazy to
right,
me. So
yes,
crazy. And I don't do the way I eat is whole food plant based. I don't do fake meats or fake
Mhm.
chickens.
Mhm.
I eat a lot of tofu and soy. People freak out like, "Oh my gosh, aren't you supposed to stay away from soy with breast cancer?" I'm like, "No. That
Right,
is old, wrong information. Soy is so beneficial."
right,
And, I focus more instead of on protein, I focus on fiber. Fiber.
yes, yes,
I was lacking so many people are lacking fiber.
97% of the American population.
Yep. And fiber is what actually rids your body of excess estrogen.
Right.
And that is one
Yeah.
thing that I needed to do. So I focus on fiber every single day.
And let's just talk about that because there's xenoestrogens out there in the atmosphere that are
Mhm.
being found in phthalates, plastics, food packaging, pesticides. I mean, there's
I
lots of
know.
xenoestrogens everywhere, right? And they're like basically exogenous estrogens that can be very problematic in our body. But
Mhm.
then also there's phytoestrogens that are found in
Mhm.
soy, like you mentioned, Jen, and it is very different. These xenoestrogens can basically attach onto the cancer receptors, if you will. If there's
Mhm.
say like there's alpha and beta. I mean, and I'm not. Don't take me scientifically here for the listeners. Just say there's A and B, okay? And like A is like the cancer promoting estrogenic hormone driven related cancers. These xenoestrogens out there, they can attach to that receptor of the cell and promote cancer. Now, phytoestrogens that are found in soy, they respond to the B on that
Mhm.
cell, and they essentially protect against getting cancer. So it's like people don't realize that, and it wasn't just until a few years ago that I understood that there was the alpha and beta there. And I
Yeah.
don't take me like 100% word for word here, but it's essentially like that, and that is why initially scientific publications thought, well, it's an estrogen of some sort. It must promote estrogenic cancers or hormone related cancers.
Yes.
But no, there's two receptors.
Exactly.
You know
You
that.
explained it really well. I actually like that explanation. I thought that was really
Oh, good.
good.
Fantastic. I learned that
Yeah.
mostly from Dr. Barnard, but he said it in a much more graceful way. So that brings me to who did you learn from and why did you go plant-based? Like what
I had no idea what I was doing in the
okay.
beginning. I just knew. For some reason, I knew. I looked at what I was doing prior, and what I was doing prior was mostly ketogenic.
Mm,
And I knew that wasn't working, obviously, got a
yeah.
diagnosis. So I just started doing my own research. I followed a lot of the things that Chris Beat Cancer
Mhm.
writes. I don't know if you follow him.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast.
Oh yeah, he's been on my show too. So
Mhm.
I followed a lot of the things that he did. I got his cookbook and I just started learning and I had no idea what I was doing and I've evolved and figured it out. I even have had another prevail over cancer. I don't know if you follow him, but he is amazing too. And I just had him on and he talks a lot about the importance of how we cook our food and not doing it at extremely high temperatures. So you're just, learning as you go.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's basically just my own research
Yeah.
and mhm,
Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you found it because it is
yeah,
a really powerful lifestyle to help prevent and help keep people in remission. There's so much science on that, and it's just really, I think people need to find it, which is why it's awesome that you're educating
yeah.
people about this. And
Yeah, and you have to stay. Oh, sorry.
what was that second person that you said we've got Chris Wark, and then who else was that? What was the
Prevail over cancer.
okay, Prevail Over Cancer.
Yeah.
That's a book.
Keith. What's that? No, it's his
That's like his
Instagram.
brand.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely
got it.
somebody to follow if you've got cancer. He's an older guy. He's amazing and he's so just factually super sweet and he's just so smart. He's like, I am
Awesome.
just a nerd. I love to just research and he has all these science-backed facts on food and cancer and it's
Love
really
it.
interesting. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's really fabulous that you mentioned, or I guess ironic and just timely that you mentioned how you cook your food as well. It's super important for people to understand that, especially if they're in a vulnerable state with their body.
Yeah.
Maybe they're immunocompromised, maybe they have autoimmune issues, maybe they have cancer. Personally, right now, it's just timely because I'm actually living raw right now, which is
I saw that.
crazy town because it's cold here in Indiana, but we went to a festival that I take our son to, and it's the Woodstock Fruit Festival. For anybody that wants to know about it, maybe y'all should come and join us next time. But it's like, you just basically are eating all raw and it's tropical fruit and it's delicious and tons of greens. And I always end up feeling better when I do raw, but when I do raw right.
Yeah,
'Cause
how
I've
do
been
you do
living,
it? I'm curious.
yeah, I've been doing plant-based for like 15 years now. So
Uh-huh.
I've been on a journey, and over the last like since 2020 basically, I went really more high starch because I have hypothyroid as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm always trying to find ways to feel my best. And so I was since 2020, I've been doing really high starch, kind of like McDougall style, like really high starch, and just, yeah, a lot of cooked starch, a lot of sweet potatoes and potatoes. And I mean, I love starch. I
I,
really do.
same, same, same.
I love I love rice. I love grains. Beans, I don't know. Ever since I've had our son, I try to get beans in as much as I can, but it's like smaller beans. And I don't know. Some days I'm picky. It's just, some days I love hummus and some days I'm like, yeah, I don't feel it. But, anyways, with raw, going from like a high starch,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's been a learning curve. But what I've really found, especially since I've always had a sensitive gut,
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes eating raw can be really hard for people, right? And especially, you don't always, I don't think that people should always be just doing like juice fast, because again, like you said, Jen, fiber is incredibly important. It not only
Yes.
pulls and sweeps out the things that we don't want out of our digestive tract, but it also keeps our blood sugar, stable, which I think is really important. So for me, I don't focus on a ton of juices when I'm eating raw, but when I'm kind of trying to transition and keep it easy on my gut, I'm focusing a lot on tender greens,
Mm.
a lot of fruit, mangoes. Find fruit that doesn't, make you a bit bloated. Some people get really bloated with watermelon, and sometimes
Yeah.
people do better with mango. So you have to find the fruits that work better for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think bananas are like a staple in, if you're doing raw, especially if you're going from starchy to raw, like bananas will be your friend. They're really,
Yes.
really affordable, and you can eat them in different stages. So like the more green bananas are going to be more starchy, more
Mm-hmm.
satiating. The more, spotty bananas are going to give you that sweetness. So um, I think that that's a staple. And then also, I personally find that making raw wraps is one of the things that's
Oh.
keeping me going. I'm actually doing raw for Lent, so like I got another month here, so we're doing this. And I'm not doing 100%. Like, yesterday I had a bite of the air fried potatoes or whatever that I made. I had a few potato spears. Okay, not very many, but it's like, I'm saying I'm 95% raw just so that I don't freak myself out. There's
Yeah.
nobody that I don't need to answer to anybody other than myself. But so anyways, I am focusing a lot on shredded veggies
Mm-hmm.
inside of raw wraps. So here's just a very like here's a promotion for my friend Lissa Maris of
Mm-hmm.
Raw Food Romance. She makes incredible recipes, and there's a ton of raw foodies out there that have raw wraps out there that you can just put on your dehydrator trays and make delicious raw wraps and stuff them with all the food. But those are kind of higher in caloric density. They have chia seeds in them and tons of vegetables and fruit. And then you can just roll up shredded zucchini, shredded carrot, avocado, sprouts, tomatoes, delicious. Okay. So good.
Yum.
So that's really keeping me on the raw train. I'm also making a lot of flax crackers, and I'm leaning in on the fats as I need to. Again, since I was going from a higher caloric starch, fruits lower in caloric density,
Mm-hmm.
you got to navigate
Yeah.
your way, and figure out what works for you.
Yeah. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I just want to inspire people to, yeah. And like you've mentioned, if we're eating food that's cooked, ideally we're steaming it. We're not roasting it at super high temperatures, even though
Right.
we all could agree that probably a roasted sweet potato is better than a steamed sweet potato. Okay. Like it's
Yeah.
much sweeter. But we want to preserve those nutrients as much as possible. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I agree. Yeah,
that
it's
was my,
he said not over 350 for
yeah,
roasting,
right. Yeah.
and yeah, just he had a lot of tips on that. So very
Yeah,
cool.
Dr. Furman
Hmm.
teaches a lot about that as well. And just the formation of advanced glycation end products or
Yeah.
acrylamides. And so all of the recipes that I try to create, like if I'm baking anything, I
Hmm.
try to keep it at 300 or below just to try to protect the people.
That's even better. Yeah, I think
Yeah, so,
so. Yeah, that's
and you
good.
might have to cook your sweet potato for like 2 hours, but like do
Right.
what you got to do,
Do
okay?
it early. Yeah. So
But
one thing
yeah.
about that you brought up, which is interesting because you said you're in Indiana and
Mhm.
it's colder.
Yes.
So I did read something when I was newly diagnosed, and I can't remember what site it was on right now, but this person, he was, from, I can't remember. Anyway, I'll figure that out and let you know. But he talked about the importance of eating warm foods so it's easier for your bodies to digest warm cooked
Mm.
foods when you're going through a diagnosis and
I
you're
think I've
trying to
heard that.
heal.
I think I've heard that. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
And it's a
So
and it's like, if it's summer, then it's fine to eat a bunch of salads and raw foods, and so if you wanna try it out, like what I've seen, especially those that are going through a diagnosis, it's better to do in warmer months
mhm,
than when
mhm.
it's colder.
Yeah, it can be shocking to the body, I think. And so, like, if
Mhm.
I'm having any fluids or anything, I'm making sure that it comes down to room temperature. Like, I am really leaning in on a lot of coconut water right now. I
Mhm.
do really like coconut water. Um, I'm also using a lot of ginger juice just because I have a very sensitive GI system. And even though that sounds like it would exacerbate it, it actually really knocks inflammation. And long story short, I worked with an integrative gut health dietitian last year, and she put me on these ginger capsules, and like she was saying I could have like 6 with each meal, and I'm like, that is a lot of ginger. She's like, people don't realize that for a therapeutic dose of ginger to really knock inflammation within the
Yeah.
body, they have to actually have a lot of ginger.
Yes.
So I am feeling like wonderful on coconut water with ginger juice, fresh pressed ginger. It's like
Yeah.
fascinating. Another way to warm from within the body is to have cayenne and cinnamon and
Mhm.
ginger, those warming spices. So,
Mhm.
fun facts about raw food.
Fun facts.
Um, so you went plant-based. What were some other lifestyle factors that you changed immediately? You started reducing stress,
Yep.
meditating, plant-based.
I went to acupuncture, so that was all new to me. I had never done that before, and that was with me. I still will go when I need it, but
Mhm.
I don't go, like, I was going 2 times a week to
Yeah.
acupuncture, along with going to an energy healer. So doing, like,
Mm.
Reiki type stuff, which I hadn't done any of that stuff. I just knew that I wanted to do everything in my power
Yeah.
to help, not
Yeah.
this have this never come back. And so the Reiki, I love that. It's like, you've done it, I'm sure.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. It's like it's like a massage for your energy. It feels so good.
Yeah.
And then acupuncture, he helped with so much, and he was also well versed in herbs. So I did a lot of herbs. And he had me at, like you said, 6 tablets of ginger, like, he had me on so much turmeric, like, 5 tablets, like, 5 times a day or 3 times a day, like, I was on so many different things.
Yeah.
I think another powerhouse is green tea. I
Mhm.
swear
Yes.
by green tea. There's
That
so many
EGCG.
benefits with green tea.
Can I tell you
Um
about something? You might not know about it.
No, tell me.
And I'm assuming also, Jen, that you share all of this information with your clients as well, right? Like
Yes.
these things, like your
Yeah.
community, you're sharing all of this.
Yeah.
I want to get into this community. Like Jen has a community out there,
Yeah.
FYI. So if you're struggling, you need to find Jen, or just going through, any type of
Mhm.
cancer situation,
Mhm.
find Jen. But do you know about sencha tea?
Yes, I have it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, but
Good.
I don't know if I know all the specifics. Tell me.
Well, I just Samey T, Kiyomi is
Mhm.
her name, from Samey T, who I found through Chef AJ, and then I ended up having her on my podcast.
Mhm.
And now I promote her tea. Her husband had cancer, and basically it was an amazing story. I really feel bad. I can't remember exactly which type of cancer, but he started drinking sencha, and
Mhm.
his results were remarkable, to say the
Wow.
least. And what I learned is that the EGCG, which is so protective
Yeah.
against cancer, is higher in sencha than it is in matcha.
Oh,
So that's
wow. Okay, I don't know that.
yeah. So it's much more powerful, and they believe it has to do with the growing process.
Okay.
See, matcha is a little bit more palatable
Mhm.
than sencha. It's a little bit less bitter, but the reason why is because they cover the green tea leaves toward the end of the growing process. The for matcha, and
Okay.
that makes the flavor more mild, and it produces less chlorophyll essentially. Now,
Yeah.
sencha, they don't do that with. And so they leave it to grow. and get more of that chlorophyll, which they believe
Mm.
potentially could be the reason why there's more
That's
aging.
amazing. I've learned so many different supplements, but so I do have that. I don't know if I have your friend's brand, but I put it in my smoothie. Can't even
Yeah,
taste
that's
it.
great. That's great.
Smoothie and like turkey tail, like mushrooms, like all that is so good. Like there's so many different things you can do with herbs and supplements. I'm not like well versed on it, but I dabble in it all.
Yeah, for sure. Same here. And I'm gonna try to say it. I'm gonna try to say it without butchering it because I've said it on a podcast before and I totally butchered it and I felt stupid. But a jack of all trade is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of none. Have you heard that?
Yes, that
Or
is so.
than a master of one. It's
I know what you're
oftentimes better
saying.
than a master of one,
Yes,
right? Like,
yes, I got
so
you.
you're learning all the things and you kind of do all that's how I am as well. So I definitely relate there. Uh,
Yes.
another just fun herb to look at for the
Hmm.
audience, they might want to consider looking at the ground olive leaf. So
Oh,
that's science that you should go and dive deep into. Hydroxytyrosol is a powerful compound, so people should look into consuming the ground olive leaf. I've been doing that daily.
yes, and that's what you sent me that link on that, and I
Yeah.
just got that olive mush. Is that what it is?
Yes, it has ground olive leaf in it.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
excited to try that.
Plus adaptogenic mushrooms and
Wow. Okay, so that has that in there too.
yeah,
Okay.
it's 50% ground olive leaf.
Oh,
So
wow.
you're really
Okay.
getting a good dose. It's phenomenal.
Okay,
So
good.
yeah,
How do you make that?
I have a recipe book coming and you will be able to
Okay,
get
good.
it and
Okay,
for
good.
free, totally for free.
Okay.
But it's going to be all whole food plant-based recipes. Like I make a frappuccino with it. I
Ooh.
make nice cream with it. I make, usually since I haven't been sweetening my food with maple syrup or honey or
Hmm.
agave or anything like that for a while, for a few years now. I just use dates. I use my
Yeah.
Vitamix and I use dates and water and I blend, and that's how I
Yum.
sweeten my drinks. So I'll make like a hot chocolate with it.
Hmm.
So many like delicious recipes. I even
Dates are the
put in my
best.
banana bread. Like you can just boost,
Ooh.
your baked goods with it too. So
Yes.
to get those
Wow.
shrooms in, everybody needs those shrooms. So
Yes, absolutely.
good stuff. Okay, so you implemented some lifestyle changes. You are using herbs. You're doing acupuncture. You're working on your mind. You're going plant-based. Um, how long was your treatment? How long were you going through treatments?
Well, so I did surgery and then radiation and then the Zoladex injections, which is where you go into the cancer center once a month for 5 years. And then you're
Did
on
you have a
hormone blocking.
port?
What's that?
Have a port?
No, that's
Okay.
when you have chemo.
Oh, yes.
S-
Okay.
So, but I ended up not having the Zoladex injections and just had my ovaries out because I was like, I don't want to go and do this for 5 years and go sit in the cancer center as just a reminder. So honestly, when somebody has a cancer diagnosis, it's kind of with you always.
Mhm.
It never really leaves you because breast cancer is not just one and done. There's typically other things that go along with it, like, my diagnosis now of osteoporosis. Literally, totally good. 2 years on an aromatase inhibitor. And those that are on it, I don't want to scare you. It doesn't happen to everybody. And I weight lift already, like I strength train.
Yeah.
And I thought there's no way this can happen to me. And so, and then that's why I decided not to do the Zometa infusions yet, which are your bones, because it's just another pharmaceutical. And
Right.
when you take that, then that pharmaceutical can then cause this. And
Right.
then it's like you're on this hamster wheel that you could just never get off. And I'm
Right.
like, I just need to get off for a minute.
Yes.
So I went off of the aromatase inhibitor, give myself a break. Not to say I won't go back on it. I'm trying to heal my bones and reverse this osteoporosis. I'm not trying. I know I will, but
Mhm.
I just wanted to do things my own way.
Yeah.
But it's just still always with you. You know what I mean? Like it never really ends.
Right. Absolutely.
You
So
always have what's that?
at what point during this process, I mean, so again, since 2021 really has not been that long,
Yeah.
like when did you just like find this courage, or did you feel like your brain was out of the fogginess enough to be like, I'm coming out of this like Shira. Like
Yeah.
I'm about to rise up and I'm about to help other women because
Yeah.
nobody needs to go through this alone. Like Where did that all come about?
I knew I needed to do this. Like when I was diagnosed, I was like, okay, God, like I hear you loud and clear. Like this is my purpose.
Mhm.
And once I get through it and figure out how I did, I'm going to share it. So that's another reason why I tried everything like hydrocolon therapy, like
Mhm.
IV therapy. Like I've really done it all. Like I don't think there's anything out there that I haven't tried. And just because I wanted to be able to share and my thoughts and what worked for me. So it was right away. I knew I wanted to create something. I wasn't sure what it was going to be yet. And I wrote my book and then I wanted to have something where women, because I didn't have this, like I was searching for it and I just couldn't find anything that wasn't like not thousands and thousands of dollars. Like I did find some programs. I'm like, what? Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? So I wanted to create an affordable space and an affordable program that women could just have basically like a blueprint. And in the other thing about my community is the Facebook groups for
Mhm.
cancer, that is scary.
Yes,
Those
I've
groups are
heard.
scary. That is like bringing on fear all day long. Like people have PTSD from those groups.
Yeah.
And in my cancer community, it's all teaching. There's like a toolkit, toolbox of like so many tools. There's so much inspiration. We do a weekly call. It's we're all just inspiring each other. We're sharing what we're doing. We're sharing what we're eating. We share like I really encourage people to incorporate more plant-based foods. So
Mhm.
I share a lot of my meals. And then this final piece of this creating this program are for those people that are too scared to join a group because they don't want to for it to be in their face all the time, which I get,
Right.
and I do teach people. I teach people in the community too. You need to step away from cancer.
Yeah.
Like there's more to life than cancer. Get out of your research mode because we are all researchers at heart. Like we just want to figure out all the things.
Right.
And this is just a program, a blueprint that people can go into and work at their own pace.
Right.
And then they're not in a community. So yeah, it's literally everything to me. Like I knew that this happened so I could shine the light for other women going through a diagnosis. Like I wanted to guide them and show them what's possible.
Yeah. I think that community aspect is something that a lot of people that are dealing with cancer are lacking. And
Yeah,
like you said, like on those, maybe whether it's a Facebook group or whether you were to go and like, and I cannot put anybody in a box. So please don't think that I'm saying this about everything, but like even like cancer centers out there that might have support groups, et cetera. Like, I don't know how inspiring they are. Right.
I
So,
know.
it's really good that you decided to follow your purpose. Sometimes, even if it's hard,
Yes.
right?
But I
Um,
love it. Like I love to connect with new women. And the thing about the community is I can't imagine being alone in this. And when you are talking to somebody else that has walked in your shoes, that has gotten that phone call, that had to go back for that repeat mammogram, has gone into an oncology appointment and been in a cancer center, those people get you. And your family members, your loved ones, your friends, even though they're trying to support, they
Nobody
don't get it.
understands.
It just,
Nobody
you just
understands.
don't. And nothing against them. Nobody's doing anything wrong. But
Right.
it's like we come together and we're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Oh
know
my,
what I mean? It's like we just feel heard and like, oh, somebody gets me.
that's beautiful. So
Yeah.
how do people get into your community if they need to, or how do they tell their friends to follow you? And
Yeah, you can go to my website, jendelvaux.com. On my Instagram, I share it all in the little link tree, has all the ways. The community is something they can join. There's a monthly fee. It's only $27 a month, which is just
Mm,
crazy for weekly calls. You can
yeah,
cancel anytime. And the program is coming. I don't know when this is launching, or when this podcast is going
a
up, but
few weeks.
okay. So yeah, I'll have that program available too, the blueprint. So yeah.
That is so amazing. So people need this blueprint. People need a step by step of what to do
Yeah.
when they're feeling scared, when they're feeling lost, when they're feeling like they can't search the internet anymore and they just want a guide. They just want a path to follow because they're tired already. They're already overwhelmed. There's so much out there that's confusing them. And just to have something put together from somebody who has walked the walk it's, I think, a super powerful and beautiful thing that you have created, Jen. So
Well, thank you.
you're so welcome. I have another question, and it's our
Yeah.
last question of the day. And I ask this to every person who comes on. I would love to know what holistic living means to you.
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I think it's mind, body, spirit. It's everything. It's going within more. It's like just taking loving on your body.
Mhm.
Even the cancer. I know that sounds weird, but it's loving every part of you instead of hating on you, holistically healing your body inside and out. And by loving your body, that means you're moving. That means you're putting in healthy ingredients. That means you're minimizing stress. It's all the things that we've talked about.
Right. That's so good. That's so
Yeah.
well. Thank you. Do you have any final words that you want to share?
I think
No
we got
stress,
it
no.
all out.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so
Awesome.
much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for being on and
Yeah.
sharing your story.